If we look at Glasgow itself, sexual assault hit a 10-year high, up 22%. Rape and attempted rape hit a 10-year high, up 32%. So these figures are, I would suggest, deeply, deeply disturbing. And I return to, I think, the important point that I made earlier. This is a cultural problem. You know, I'm not getting into religion or race or anything like that. This is a cultural problem. The fact is, in Afghanistan and countries like that, women are treated very, very badly indeed. And now this is beginning to hit our streets in this country. And, you know, it was interesting, wasn't it? I mean, who were the people that turned up at Epping at the Bell Hotel? It was women. You know, we've had a couple of women questions in the audience. It was women that turned up outside the Bell Hotel. It was mothers and grandmothers that turned up outside the Bell Hotel, simply saying, up with this, we will not put. So you know, we need to have a grown-up debate about this, a sensible debate about this, but there is a real problem.
But Nigel, a grown-up debate in a place like Glasgow would tell you that Glasgow has huge figures in domestic violence.
Yes.
It's probably white males that are the problem in Glasgow in terms of the numbers of rapes and attempted rapes. You haven't given us any policy.
Well, hang on a second.
For any of that.
Hang on a second. If we've got a huge problem with that issue in Glasgow anyway, why on earth would we add to it? Why on earth would we add to it? As for the solution, well, I gave the solution earlier to the other correspondent from the Scottish Sun. You know, under our policy, they won't be in Glasgow, and they certainly wouldn't be free to walk the streets. That is the policy solution to that particular problem.
I don't know is the answer. I've not spoken to anyone. None of my former colleagues in the Conservatives knew what I was going to do today. None of them. So despite your best efforts, John, you're a great journalist who gets information out of folk. None of them knew anything. I think it'll be interesting now for me whether I have any private conversations. They will remain private if people want to come forward. As I said earlier, they'd be most welcome to come through my door wherever I'm put in Parliament.
Simon Johnson, Daily Telegraph.
What message do you think Mr Simpson's defection sends to right-wing voters who are considering whether to back the Conservatives or your party in the Holyrood election? And to Graham, the two other MSPs who have left the Tory group have done so because they think Russell Finlay has made the party too similar to Reform, and it's certainly difficult to put a fag paper in between the two parties on things like energy policy. So why is it that you have gone from the Conservatives to Reform? What's the difference for you?
I'm going to answer that first and you'll do it second because I can't resist this. Are you having a laugh? It's the same energy policy as the Conservatives. What, to make us the Saudi Arabia of wind? That was the Conservative policy during the last government. They've even put net zero into law. That was a Conservative government that did it. The fact that now they say, well, we didn't really mean it. Well, sorry, but you did. You know, so frankly, they have a declining credibility on issues as a party and geographically. If you just look at the, I do think it was instructive. You know, I did think it was instructive what happened in the Hamilton by-election because they actually had quite a strong candidate with a local following, and still they're back down at sort of on the edge of saving deposits. And in other elections we've seen around Scotland, by-elections around Scotland, the Conservative vote has fallen to derisory levels. And I think that next May, the Scottish Conservatives will do so badly in those Scottish elections that they will cease to be a political force in Scotland, and I think we may see the same result happening in Wales, parts of northern England and elsewhere. And it's very interesting because, you know, you mentioned that some MSPs go in one direction and some go in another direction, and everyone says, oh, well, you know, the Scottish, or the Scottish Conservative Party or the National Conservative Party, it's a broad church. Well, it is a broad church. The trouble is it has no religion. It doesn't actually have a faith that binds anything together. And I just get the feeling that, no, I genuinely believe that what will happen here next May for the Conservatives is pretty much a wipeout. And
I wrote a piece last year which none of you picked up on, but if you had, you'd have got some headlines out of it. And I wrote the piece because I felt that there were a number of people in the Scottish Conservatives who didn't necessarily appreciate what it was to be a Conservative. So listen, Simon, I can send you the link if you want to read that and pick over it. I'm not here today, as I made clear, to criticise Russell Finlay or the Scottish Conservatives. I don't want to do that. It's Russell's problem now. I want this to be a positive thing, and I'm going to be working on policies very, very quickly, and you'll see a clear difference between us and others.
How, and a further point, sorry, could you also address whether you would propose more fracking, and how do you think, would that get much support in this country? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the viability of large parts of the North Sea is determined by the price of oil, obviously, and whatever the expected price of oil is for any investor. There's still viability there, and given the state the world's in, it wouldn't be surprising if there weren't further energy shocks at some point over the course of the next few years. Should we be fracking? Well, you know what? Countries that frack get rich. Countries that don't frack get poor. And the problem with renewable energy is twofold. Number one, the national grid is not set up to deal with intermittent energy, which is why we have to pay to turn the turbines off when the wind's blowing effectively around all of our coastlines. We can have renewables, but we have to accept expensive energy for families and the continued deindustrialisation of Britain. And if renewables can work without subsidy in a genuine market, that's fine. But the truth is, and you know it, and I know it, they can't. That's been the case for a very, very long time. So if renewables can stand on their own 2 feet, fine. I don't believe they can, and I don't think, as I say, the grid is set up to deal with that form of energy.
The grid's being reinforced now, so
It'll need. If we had carbon-free electricity, it would cost over a trillion, and maybe nearer 2, to upgrade the entirety of our grid, and that would guarantee the most expensive industrial energy prices in the world, which we have now, and it would guarantee it for the next 2 decades. And we would literally, and we are deindustrialising anyway. You know, we have the most, and I repeat the point, we have the most expensive energy industrial prices in the world.